All right, here we are. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. And today I managed to put the correct date on all the different live streams. So that's an improvement, right?
I knew you could do it.
Yeah, and it's good to be back as well. Thank you for holding the fort and doing what you do best.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This week's been fantastic. I feel like you and I have hung out quite a bit. It's been great.
Primarily because we're doing training every single day. So, well, except Monday. We didn't do Monday, did we?
No, but we got to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah. Columbus Day is good that way.
Exactly. We got to talk about what I'm sure some others have dealt with this week, Microsoft enabling MFA by default on the Entra portal, admin portals.
Yep. I had one tenant I had to fix up well in time, 24 hours before. So
that's stuff. Plenty.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right. What else has been going on?
Oh, there's always something going on in our little part of the industry, Johan. I've got a few things that I wanted to share today.
All right.
First things first, an update to one of our, we have many favorite community tools, but one that you and I have been using quite a lot recently is the IntuneManagement tool. We've talked about it a number of times here on Office Hours and always try to make sure that we stay up to date with updates coming through. So I did notice there was an update just a few days ago. One of the new features here you can see listing the templates for the settings catalog policies for security baselines, which are fantastic. And then a number of fixes as well in here, in addition to not only some of the features or specific profiles referenced by the tool, but in some of the documentation. This is one thing that some of you, I know you, Johan, have heard me talk about. I love this tool for documentation. It's fantastic. I've got one of my colleagues recently used this for working through the security baseline change from the old policies over to the new settings catalog based security baselines, and the documentation feature of this tool made it so much easier to distribute those changes out to users. So really just fantastic stuff. I don't have anything but good stuff to say about this tool. So that was the first thing that I wanted to share today. Second, I haven't totally gotten through the entire post yet, but Ben Whitmore put up a post on the MS Endpoint Manager blog earlier this week as well around unpacking the Intune MDM certificate. I like how he points out in here that this is just a tiny deep dive into the certificate, but basically talks about some of the information you can get around the device and the tenant itself that's built into the certificate. So if we scroll down here a little bit, you'll see it's actually breaking up the various bytes of the data in the certificate, and how you can unpack that, the information that you can get out of it. So if this is something that you're interested in, definitely recommend checking out Ben's blog post here. There is a PowerShell script down here at the bottom of the post, I guess about in the middle of the post, that will actually take the certificate and help you unpack it for you, which is great stuff. Another tool in the toolbox for sure.
Well, I'm not going to say anything bad about the work that Ben is doing here, but in general, when Ben says something is not deep dive, it is usually quite deep dive. You spend an hour or two reading through, and then you spend a day or two trying to figure out what you just read in the post. So he has a knack for writing very, very detailed blog posts. So thank you, Ben, but I wouldn't say this is an overview. This is a deep dive into certs in this case.
Little bit more than a tiny deep dive.
Yeah. I think it's his humble James Bond style that goes through there and kicks in, or the British, whatever. Yeah.
That's right. No, I mean, take a look at the script here alone. You can tell how much work and effort he put into this. Is just fantastic, brain hurting type stuff in a good way.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And then I also came across a quick blog post from an old friend, Daniel Ratliff, who had a couple of blog posts come out recently. So I wanted to make sure we shared this. And he put up a little PowerShell script here and blog poster on how to automate performance monitoring within Windows. Surrounding the data collector sets that you can put together in Performance Monitor, how to gather that data and put it all together. So short and sweet blog post. The script not as short and sweet, but does link to a script that helps you automate this. You can see some of the starting and output here, and what comes together. So fantastic stuff from Daniel here as well. Want to make sure if this is something that you're looking at doing, anything that we can make performance gathering or performance monitoring on our clients a little bit easier, I am all for it. So thank you, Daniel, for this post.
It's a small world. I actually have a meeting scheduled with him and part of his team tomorrow. We're going to talk about branch cache troubleshooting as you do on a Thursday morning.
Of course.
Yeah.
That might be better than actually a cup of coffee. That'll really get your brain going in the morning.
Yep.
Awesome. And then some not so awesome news that I wanted to share. We were just talking about this briefly before we hopped on. I came across this, that some Western Digital NVMe drives are causing 24H2 to blue screen. Saw a couple of blog posts writing this as 24H2 causing some headaches, but I don't know if I've got a Western Digital NVMe drive as my system drive and I'm getting blue screens. It's a little bit more than a headache.
I actually been looking at those drives. I had one of their 4 terabytes before, but they recently released their 8 terabyte drive.
Mm-hmm.
And Samsung doesn't yet have an 8 terabyte. So I was like, oh, that was interesting. Only challenge is it was like $1,000. I'm like, oh, ouch.
That's a bit of a challenge, yes. The good thing is, it sounds like if you do decide to overcome that challenge, there is a workaround for these drives here, a registry workaround. So,
fair enough.
You might be able to, as long as you can overcome the $1,000 price point for the 8 terabyte, you might still be able to put one of these in your systems with this workaround.
Glad to hear.
Yeah, so far though, I've got a couple of devices, physical devices too, by the way, not just VMs, because I'm living on the edge here, Johan. I've moved to 24H2 and fingers crossed, no issues. One of my favorite things so far is Microsoft came up with this fantastic concept of having text underneath the icons in the context menu.
In Explorer? Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. A fantastic idea. I was very happy to see it's much easier to figure out what's copy and paste now.
Yeah. I'm too old to just these small icons. It's just no.
Exactly.
Let the young generation deal with that.
Exactly. So those were the things that I had for today.
All right. I have a few things on my mind, so I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen.
All right.
First of all, I was very happy to be approved as a speaker at Ignite in Chicago. Thank you, sir. So if you go to the session catalog, which was published recently, And well, it helps having a unique name. Very few of us in total on the planet, but even fewer of us that actually work with ConfigMgr and Intune and other things. But I'll be doing a session on upgrading to Windows 11 using Intune. I also got a text from Leo Bella last night. Apparently, I'm been voluntold to show up for an MVP panel on Intune, so I'm going to do that as well. So exciting times. I'm looking forward to the conference. And if anyone, you're listening, attending tonight, please come say hi. I'll be quite likely to staff the expo area or the expert area in the expo area a few of the days there as well. So come and say hi if you have the chance. Now, also, I was busy last night and this morning, doing some blogging. I had a need to copy everything from one boot image over to another boot image. And long story short, in ConfigMgr, if you have a boot image like I have here, this is my old boot image, and you have some drivers. If you only have like 4 of them, it's not too complicated to take a new boot image that you create and make sure you have the same drivers there, because you can just have them side by side and you can add and compare. But if you have like 30, which I have some across some organizations having, it is more challenging. So I wrote a little PowerShell script that I have here, where you simply specify your source boot image, you specify your destination boot image. I have a bit of a logging function where I use some stuff here. But long story short, I'm defining those variables, connecting to the PowerShell drive for ConfigMgr, basic validations, making sure that the boot images I specified actually exist. Found that helpful. But then here I'm connecting to that object, and out of that object I get a bunch of drivers out of that mix. And basically then I'm looping through each driver from the source. I'm logging some details in the log file here, but then I'm adding them to the destination. So if I run through this script, it's simply going to head and add those drivers in. And it doesn't hurt if you run it multiple times. It's not going to add them like 4 times. It's just going to realize they were already there, and life is good. But long story short, this script will duplicate drivers from one boot image over to another. And I tested this. It also works if you have boot images with different versions on them. Because you probably know that if you go to a boot image that is matching your ADK installation folder or installation on the server, on the provider, you can see the drivers. But if you pick a boot image that doesn't match what you have, you cannot see the drivers, making it even harder to guess what you've added to them. But the PowerShell script found them. So it seems to happily ignore what the console prevents you from doing. So it worked just fine there. So that was my morning there. We also have, we mentioned this a few times, but you have an online academy, a community here that we trying to convince more people to share content, answer questions and whatnot. And since we are coming into the kind of scarier season, we have posted a little invite here to share a war story from your IT career, and we make sure to reward the best stories coming out of that one. I have one in particular in mind for myself, involving a little bit of small drive bay and a hammer on a running system. I will put in for sure. Speaking of hammers, I actually had a customer who was very, very creative. They had an old Novell server, speaking of stories, and he got a large sticker of a hammer and taped it inside of the chassis on that Novell server. He called it reverse psychology. that Novell server knew what would happen if it decided to misbehave. And lo and behold, that Novell server never we had any troubles with. It ran for years and years and years and years. So anyhow, if you have a story to share, we hope you will be interested in sharing it. Yeah. What else? There were a few more things. Oh, yes. You didn't share the guide to Ignite, did you? Last week?
I don't believe I did, no.
All right. So at Ignite, I should have mentioned earlier, but I forgot. There is a ton, a good few sessions on Intune at Ignite this year. So if you're there, I recommend attending to those. So I wanted to share this link. And then I also stumbled across, let's see.
Actually, before you move on from this one, Matt did have a question already. Could you please share the best sessions for Ignite? Is this what you would direct him towards?
Well, as a starting point, I actually signed up for a pre-day myself, not to speak, but to listen. And they're doing a pre-day on Windows Server 2025. So I'm going to attend that one, the Monday. But this support tip also showed up in my feed yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Yes.
If you have devices that you are removing and adding into legacy Active Directory and you have them in hybrid, there was a support tip here to make sure that you always unenroll them from MDM also, if that's the case, and a little bit of an explanation to why that is from the support organization behind Intune. So yeah, that was the last thing I had there. Do we have any questions? That is the question.
We do. We have a couple. So I think answered Matt's question there on the best sessions for Ignite, at least as you mentioned as a starting point. Were there any other sessions that you've happened to come across yet that you would recommend?
I haven't gone through the entire catalog. It was just showing up the other week here. So, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, we can, between the two of us, we can find a couple that were. I'll look into the virtual portion of it as well and see if there's anything that's worth pointing out.
We have a deal. Yeah.
All right. So we've got another question here from Benny over on YouTube. Can Windows Update for Business show a countdown to a forced restart after deadline and grace period has completed, similar to how ConfigMgr can force a restart with a red countdown bar on the user's screen?
Well, Windows Update for Business is using the native Windows Update thingy in Windows, and it doesn't really have that many options that you can configure. You can definitely tie it into, I've seen some organizations tying it into the toast notification script that Martin Bengtsson put together, initially for ConfigMgr, but this actually works also with Microsoft Intune. And this one can show pretty much anything you want, because it's leveraging everything that a toast notification in Windows can show. So you can have it shown up. You can nag users like every 5 minutes if you want. Please don't do that, but you could. I had it scheduled on one of my devices to run every hour. Just so we want to see what would happen. But the information here is driven by PowerShell. So if you can figure out a way in a PowerShell script to read that information somehow, yes, you can show it as a toast notification. So maybe something like that. Unless you have stumbled across another solution, Andrew.
No, I have not. I mean, for customization, this would be the exact. We were thinking the same thing.
Okay, good. Great mind find things alike.
That's right. All right. And Amir's got a follow up here from a topic over the last couple of weeks. Wanted to follow up on the issue we ran into with Windows 11 24H2 and web sign in on the Surface Pro with an ARM CPU from a couple of weeks ago. Turns out the issue is still happening in 24H2, whether it's ARM or the 64-bit version. Haven't been able to find out much online about it yet, but it's definitely affecting our deployment workflow. Technicians, you need to use a temporary access pass to log in as the user and set up their profile before shipping out the device. So this is causing a bit of a roadblock. Problem is that after enabling web sign-in, the sign-in button appears, but when you click it, the web login window doesn't pop up. Instead, an event is logged saying the logon process crashed. Has anyone had a chance to test this out yet? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I have like last week. I haven't, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. I haven't seen this on any of our platforms that I work with, or just environments that I work with. And I haven't seen anything online either, other than this comment here. But if anyone happen to know, feel free to share that information with us, and we'll be happy to forward it or mention it. Other than that, Amir, I would strongly recommend to get a support case going with this, unless you have already, because this has to be escalated.
Yeah, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah. And the challenge is the thing is that the more organizations that file support cases for issues like this, the more quickly it comes on the radar, and the better priority it has. When they start to get, I mean, that every time there is a new version of Windows, there are tons of feedback coming in to support, and they have to, okay, where do we start? So I recommend filing that bug. All right.
Hold on, I may actually have something. Web sign-in fixed. So this is interesting. If you don't mind sharing my screen, Johan.
I should be able to do that, sir.
This does not help you right at the in the immediate term, Amir, but in these release notes from build 2152, if we scroll down here, we have a fixed web sign-in. You cannot sign into your account from the web because the screen stops responding. Don't know if this is the exact same problem, but I found this from where did it go? Here we go. There is a Microsoft Community post where others are describing the same challenges or similar challenges. And there are quite a few folks on here saying that they're running into issues. So definitely I would second Johan's recommendation there to get a ticket in, but in parallel, hopefully this is going to be resolved in an upcoming update. But I think this also, it may be a good time to, maybe we talked about it a little bit last week, but with 24H2 still so fresh, I think, Johan, I typically follow your recommendation and still normally would be in a bit of a pilot phase for this feature update, especially now we're hearing this web sign-in issues. We're seeing Western Digital NVMe issues causing blue screens.
Richard mentioned last week that DirectAccess is not functional on 24H2. Right. So by all means, start to do tests, but don't put it in production like the first 3 weeks in a version of Windows is available. Give it some time and make sure it works in your environment before hitting the big buttons to deploy it everywhere. All right.
I will share these release notes as well in our links for this evening, just in case.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. Benny is asking, I need to report on all mapped printers on devices. Could I query the registry with CM Pivot for this? I believe the registry location is in local user.
Not through CM Pivot, but you can have a baseline run as a user. There is an option for that. Or to run in the user context. And then save that data somewhere else where a regular query can pick it up. We'll run a script in the user context that will retrieve that information. So that would work. You can use something like an inventory script as well. Again, running in the user context, save data away, and then just upload the data to Log Analytics or something, and then you have a report on that. If you're using Intune, ConfigMgr is easy to add it to the inventory. I don't know if a WMI class can collect user info. I don't think so. I think it has to be driven by the system context there.
All right. Just trying to see if I could find anything on that specifically, which led me to, this is a bit off topic, but I see that the Internet Archive Wayback Machine is up again.
Oh, yay. Yeah, those dumb nuts that attacked that organization, I was so mad. People who are spending their spare time providing this service for free.
Yeah.
And then you had some not so bright people. Yeah.
Well, not at all. It's like attacking a library.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a question here about servicing in ConfigMgr. Under Windows servicing in ConfigMgr, what are the differences between upgrade to Windows 11 and Windows 11 version 23H2x64 2024-10B? How should we use them differently?
I'm assuming that the question there is basically whether to use UUP updates or not. There's an option for that in the servicing plan that you create. Wonder if I have an example in my lab. Let me take a quick look before we switch the screen. Yeah, let's see here. So basically, when you create a service plans, which is technically an ADR, you're going to get a question whether you want to use UUP updates or not. And when that question does in the wizard, it really, in the upgrades, it set a UUP preference to deploy UUP updates. And I have not tried not to set this. So I don't know if the other updates will kick in and do that. But this one here forces the client to use that larger UUP update package that we have talked about many times here on the office hours. But heck, I can take on some homework and see what the differences would be. UUP versus non-UUP using service plans. So something for me to do over the weekend. All right.
Speaking of the weekend and next week, this is a bit off topic, so I apologize if I'm jumping the gun, but our office hours next week are going to look a little different.
Yes, indeed. Wonder if they have published. They should be up. Let me head over to the FLAMINGO sessions. I'd like to say it was Tuesday at 5.
Yes. Yep, so the time is looking a little bit different.
Yes, here.
Good handful of familiar faces signed up for it too.
Yeah. We're going to run it live from the conference in one of the conference rooms. So we'll be taking questions both from the people that are in the audience and also from you guys online, of course, as always. And if you're lucky, we can bring in some more guest speakers. We'll see. I will do a bribing round at the beginning of the week there. So.
There's got to be a hotel bar that we can trap people at.
Yeah.
Early on in the week.
Yeah. Want to join us tomorrow for office hours? By the way, here's a beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, as a matter of fact, yes, of course. All right.
See what we can do. So yeah, we moved it to Tuesday just to work around the conference schedule because obviously they have their closing party on Wednesday, and as cool as it would be to be doing that through the party, maybe not.
Yeah. Awesome. No, sorry to take us off topic there. I just triggered in my brain that we were going to be on a different day.
Yeah, that is correct. Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, while we were talking about that, we had a couple of other questions come in. Matt's asking if we have any information about admin protection. Rudy's talked about it a little bit on his blog. I think he actually did share a new blog post that I haven't read yet earlier this week. But is this going to be a replacement for UAC? So I don't know if you've gone through the deep dive on it yet, Johan. I don't believe that it's a replacement for UAC, so we'll still be getting UAC prompts and things like that. At least this is my current understanding of it. We'll still get UAC prompts, but there are some under the hood things going on that basically make it where you don't have administrator all the time. Whereas UAC that's not what's happening today, even with UAC. If you launch as an administrator, you already are an admin, but you're still going to be getting that UAC prompt.
Yeah, so this is the post we shared last week. I haven't had a chance to go through what this means yet, so
Yeah, and then he just posted one earlier this week on the differences between administrator protection and EPM, and that one I've not read at all yet.
is it up here on the blog also?
That is actually, I don't know if it's on the Patch My PC blog. It is on his Call for Cloud, his personal blog.
Well, that one I know.
Been there once or twice.
That one, yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of brain hurting deep dives.
Yeah, I was in one of his sessions in Switzerland, and he basically whipped up a debugger and went through the code. I'm like, okay, this is
impressive.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Oleg has a question over here on YouTube. Was anyone able to set the taskbar and start menu on Windows 11 24H2 using Intune policy, GPO, or during ConfigMgr imaging? None of the options work for me and not sure what I'm doing wrong. So I have not done any customization on 24H2 yet. I haven't happened to come across anything that changed or was broken. Doesn't mean that there wasn't anything. I just haven't seen it yet myself.
No, I haven't had a chance to try it either. I think my taskbar aligning script still worked. At least I was happy for that, but I haven't had a chance to play around with this yet. But guess that's something to do as well. I'm surprised that Jürgen hasn't done it yet. He usually is like day one of the release. He would have something for that.
Yeah,
no,
we'll have to corner him at the bar this weekend too.
Yeah. No, we'll try it out with 24H2 and see how it plays out. Config, Intune, PowerShell, the usual works.
Yeah, and I don't think we have. Well, I know I don't. I don't think there's a customization session next week. So I might just have to dig up, dust off some of the VMs from May, and try the same thing.
Put it this way: we can showcase it live next Tuesday. So,
all right,
that works.
All right. Oh, okay. Have you seen? Got another question over here from YouTube. Have you seen updates deployed via Windows servicing automatically append Setupconfig DynamicUpdate equals enable to the INI file? And then there's an example of what the INI file ends up looking like. Any ideas on how to fix that?
I haven't seen them updating the init file, a regular update. I have to check that. Question is this a feature update in the file, or is it a regular monthly update in the file? I saw someone mentioning that Setupconfig file had some issues with 24H2, but I haven't had a chance to verify that yet. But basically, the concept here is my screen still showing?
Yep.
Yeah, yes it is. All right. Let's see. Here.
There was a follow-up comment. It is a feature update.
I'll say there's a feature update run. It looks like it's flipping this one here to enable, even though it wasn't before. I have not seen it, but it could also be because I have it set to enable in my environment. And I'm basically putting it in that folder where the update experience, or so that the feature update finds it or looks for it. So in that particular folder in Windows, that's where Intune looks for it, or by setup looks for it when run through Windows Update for Business or servicing plans in ConfigMgr. So now I have to double check that. I haven't seen it update in that file, but again, it could also be because I have that setting set to that specific value in my files. I wouldn't have noticed. So I have to change it to something else and try again and see what happens.
All right.
Then there was a question on the new company portal, and I know that one showed up in your tenant literally yesterday.
Yeah, it's been very recent. So Matt was asking, how do I get the update for a company portal? Well, if it's available to your tenant, it should come down automatically through a Microsoft Store update. But if you're not seeing it in your tenant yet, my answer is to just wait. It's not the answer that I like to give, but as Johan mentioned, I just received it in my tenant, in 2 different tenants actually, and I know of folks that had the update 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it
You
seems
have
like
it
it's. Oh yeah, I can pull it
accessible.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Let's know when I can share your screen.
Yes, sir. Give me just a moment. Hope that was the right password. Yes, it was. You can share it. I'm just logging into one of my VMs right now.
Yeah, I recognize that username.
I thought you might. So it's a nice facelift, I think. But yeah, unfortunately, it just, with it being a rolling update, it's just a matter of when it hits your tenant, it seems like. Let's make a note to myself to run the remove admin auto logon script against these VMs.
Oh, it's helpful to have when testing stuff. So
It is. That's the only reason that I haven't removed it from the unattend file when I do deploy these VMs, is because it is helpful at first. But then once I'm using these VMs for demos and things like that, I've got a separate script that I just run against them to remove that. All right, let's see. So if we pop this open here, check out the company portal. There we go. So you can see here, it's not a totally new company portal, but it is a facelift. The intention was to make it a little bit easier for users to get to resources that they may need or want. So you can see some of the applications are focused right here on this home page, as well as the device that you're on pops up right here. I didn't notice too much of a change in this area. Not to say that there wasn't one. I don't know if we had this multi-select option in the past.
let's see. I have one that I can open up. No, you do not have multi-select in the detailed list. No.
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually a
No,
cool
you do.
improvement.
You do.
You
Never
do?
mind. I was
Okay.
in the wrong. Yep.
Well, I just learned something that's been around for a while then.
Unless I also got the new one.
Yeah. It at any rate, whether that's the new one or old one, that's pretty. I like that. So just a couple of quality of life improvements there. Matt did ask which version this is, and I believe that is in settings here, 11.2.1002.0. So this is the new stuff.
Yeah, I definitely have the old one because my settings doesn't look like that.
Okay. And is the search bar new too?
Yes, I do
Okay.
not have a search bar in mine.
So I could just search for Notepad, and there we go. Now I have Notepad.
I mean, there is a search in apps, but it's on the left pane, and it's not like a common one for the portal.
Okay.
It's becoming Outlook. You have the search in the top.
Right. Hopefully not losing any features, though.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Yes, of course. So let's see. We had another question here on YouTube around Winget and company portal. It seems like Winget doesn't update the company portal file as often as machines receive an update, so the app will report as failed because it tried to downgrade. Since it's a line of business app, is there any way to add detection so that it doesn't report as failed?
Not that I know of.
And if you're just going through the, let's see here. This is how I have it deployed out in my lab, or assigned out. I'm telling you, that is a habit that is going to die hard, Johan. How long are we going to say deployment?
At least one more time.
I can't argue with you there. So yeah, this is how I have it as assigned out to all devices in my lab tenant, and yeah, nothing that allows you to add detection or anything like that. So sorry, no good answer there. All right. So Amir is mentioning continuing on to avoid the 24H2 web sign-in issue. I set up a 24H2 feature update policy in Intune and assigned it to an empty group. Also configured the feature update deferral settings to 365 days. However, technicians are still reporting that devices imaged with 23H2 via MDT get updated after a few minutes of sitting idle, right after imaging. I suspect this happens because the Intune policies haven't reached them yet. Do you have any tips on disabling only the feature updates in an MDT task sequence step? This would help prevent the updates from applying before the policies are in place.
I mean, there's a policy you can set on the device temporarily to prevent feature updates from coming down, or basically where the source is for feature updates. If you point at something not Intune or to Intune or Windows Update for Business, it shouldn't come down. So possibly through local policy on the device until it gets the Intune policies.
And then when it gets those policies, in theory, it should fix what you've put in previously.
In theory, yeah.
Yeah.
Worst case, I'm assuming a scheduled task on the device could be created that looks for the Intune policies, and when they see them, remove that to local policy.
Clever way of dealing with it.
Well, I have my fair share of tattooed policies in my years where you basically have to set the opposite policy for it to go away, just deleting the value, or it doesn't always do the trick, but something that reverts to change after you detect a new policy coming, unless the policy does the job anyway. All right. Any other questions?
Geez, I can't believe we only have 10 minutes left. Time flies. Just check see if we missed anything here.
I don't think so. I think that was pretty much it.
Seems that way.
Well, all right then. Once again, next week it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. It is 5 p.m. Eastern time, so that means 6 p.m. Central time. Right? No, 4 p.m. Central time.
4 p.m., yes.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Central time. So we hope to see you then. And other than that, thank you all for watching and see you again next week.
All right. Thanks. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.